Hi, I'm attorney Greg Dell here with attorney Rachel Alters. And Rachel, I'm glad to come today to discuss one of your recently resolved cases against the Hartford on a very common and challenging issue that you encounter for a lot of your claimants. So in this video, I want to talk about the facts of your case against Hartford, what you were able to do, and then provide some helpful tips for people that they could learn if they have a Hartford appeal or are worried about having their Hartford disability benefits denied. So what was the background and facts of your case against Hartford?
This was a case where I represent a woman who's a clinical appeals nurse. So she's a nurse, but she has a sedentary job sitting at a desk reviewing medical records. So, she uses her knowledge as a nurse, but she's got a sedentary position. And she wasn't able to work anymore due to a couple different issues. She had fibromyalgia, which was, she has pain all over her body that causes, the inability to focus and concentrate. And she also had a mental nervous claim, which was anxiety and depression, which, I think was also connected to the pain she was suffering from the fibromyalgia. So she filed a claim. I believe she was paid a couple months for the mental nervous, and then they cut her off. So we had to do an appeal.
On the long-term disability claim, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And what did they rely upon to deny her claim?
They were just reviewing the medical records she submitted medical records from her psychiatrist and her psychologist. And then she also has a rheumatologist that was diagnosing and treating her for the fibromyalgia. And they reviewed the medical records. And I guess in the beginning, they thought she did have enough proof that she was disabled and unable to perform the material substantial duties of her job as a nurse reviewer. However, after a few months, it was their opinion that the medical records indicated that she was better and she could go back to work, whether or not that was the case.
Okay, so she hired you at a point of after being paid for a few months, then denied. You review the denial letter, you get a copy of the claim file. Right. What did you learn at that point in time, and what was your strategy to help her win her Hartford benefits?
Right, the issues that I saw at the beginning of the review of her claim was that she wasn't treating it often enough with her psychologist and her psychiatrist, and that her doctor that was treating her and diagnosed her with fibromyalgia wasn't really documenting enough restrictions and limitations. So, Hartford was saying, well, we don't see any evidence of a physical disability, but we will approve her for a couple months for the psychiatric. So what we had to do was build up both the medical records from the psychiatric standpoint and the psychological standpoint, also the rheumatological standpoint. So I advised her to go back to her psychiatrist and her psychologist and make more appointments more frequently, because what happens is the insurance carriers will see, especially with a mental nervous claim, if you're not in there treating at least once a week with a psychologist, they say that you must be fine and you must be able to work. If your condition is so severe that you cannot show up for work and handle your occupation, then you should be seeing a therapist at least weekly, and then a psychiatrist at least monthly. That's at least the experience that I have. And when people say, oh, well, I only go to my psychiatrist every 3 months and my therapist once a month, it's usually not enough to get the claim approved. So I had her make appointments more frequently and make sure that her doctor was documenting all the issues that she was having and why they were so severe, because they have to be to such a severity that it prevents you from performing the material substantial duties of your job.
So that's on the psychiatric, non-physical, and then what were you able to do on the physical side to prove that she had physically disabling conditions?
Well, we were working with her rheumatologist to try and get him to document more. There isn't a test specifically because fibromyalgia is a diagnosis of exclusion. So there isn't a specific test that they can take that shows that they have it. But once, the symptoms are there and you've had them for a certain amount of time and they're to such a severity that the diagnosis is made, you have to make sure that you're going and you're getting treatment, that she's taking the medications that they require or they suggest. There's multiple medications that help treat the pain for fibromyalgia. Such as Lyrica, there's other anti-seizure medications. So I suggested that she go see this doctor, the rheumatologist, more often and document. Unfortunately, when the claim was overturned, and Hartford did put her back on claim, they only approved her for the mental nervous portion, and they paid her out for the rest of the 24-month period. And they denied her based on the physical claim because they said that they still didn't see enough evidence in her records to prove that she was disabled for the physical claim, which they often do this because they only want to pay the claimant for a finite period of time.
So this is a common strategy that we see from Hartford and other disability insurance companies when dealing with fibromyalgia. Is they try to say, yeah, we know you have pain, but we think the pain or the cognitive difficulties that you're having are secondary to a psychiatric condition, not secondary to your physical condition of fibromyalgia. And why is that an important distinction, where the pain is primary, why the disabling condition they're saying is primary depression, not primary fibromyalgia?
Right. Well, it's an angle that they often take because according to most the group policy language, if you are unable to perform the material substantial duties of your job, but that's caused or contributed to by a mental nervous condition, then they only have to pay you for 24 months. Where if you flip it and that your mental nervous condition is secondary to your primary physical condition, then you can get paid sometimes to age 65 if you qualify. So the insurance carrier would prefer it be the former because they don't want to pay. They'd rather pay you for 24 months. So what we need to do now in this claim is we need to do another appeal, and we need to focus solely on the physical and build up the claim in order to get her approved so that she can get benefits beyond that 24-month period.
Now, did this claimant, prior to hiring you, ever present her claims such that her depression or anxiety was primary and that the fibromyalgia was secondary?
I don't know. The problem when you file a claim on your own as a claimant is they don't really know what they're doing. They just kind of throw everything at the wall. So I think she just threw everything at the insurance carrier, even though in her mind, if you ask her, her physical claim is worse than her mental nervous, and that the physical is causing her to be depressed. However, she didn't really know how to present that, so I think what she did was just provided all the medical records, let the insurance carrier make the assumption themselves, which when we do an application, we don't do. So if I was the one who handled the application process, I would make it known to Hartford that this was a physical claim.
Right.
And that yes, she has anxiety and depression, but that's secondary to the physical issues, and we would focus primarily on the physical. But we can't help what we get once we're called.
And I know you argued in the last appeal to try to tell them this is a physical secondary to that it's physical and that the depression is secondary.
Right.
Although Hartford's saying, look, we can get another bite at the apple here. We don't have to distinguish right now. Let's just say it's the depression, therefore then we'll cut her off at 24 months and make them do it all over again. In the meantime, I know you've been working with the client to really focus on the physical and really want to minimize the psychiatric. And a person after 2 years of treatment for psychiatric can start to get more improvement, but it's never going to change the physical symptoms and difficulties that are coming from the fibromyalgia.
Right.
So challenging issues that always come with this particular claim, especially when you have a physical condition such as fibromyalgia that doesn't really have objective evidence. And we've talked a lot about how to prove fibromyalgia and steps to take if you have a fibromyalgia denial, which people can certainly look up those other videos. But probably one of the best strategies is that if someone's dealing with a fibromyalgia denial or a Hartford denial is to reach out to you, any of our lawyers. You'll provide them with a free initial consultation, discuss the claim with them, and let them know about strategies and, more importantly, chances of success moving forward. Because unfortunately, there are some claims where it may not be that something could have been developed later, or there may not be a way to get there. But we've been very successful in overcoming this mental nervous condition, because fibromyalgia is such a significant and physical condition that it's hard for someone to have fibromyalgia and not at least have symptoms of depression. I mean,
Sure.
Nobody, depression is a sadness situation that everyone refers to, and nobody can be happy or not be sad when they're having such tremendous pain that fibromyalgia causes. So no matter where you live in the country, we welcome the opportunity to speak with you, and we will do everything we can to help you. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process. And when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, plus we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.